In the beginning was the Word. Not just a word as we know it, but a vibration. A single utterance that rippled through the void. The first tremor of existence in an otherwise silent eternity. This word wasn't spoken into air because there was no air. It wasn't heard by ears because there were no ears. It was frequency itself, the divine resonance that gave birth to all space, time, and matter. In Genesis, it reads, God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. A command, yes, but also a wave. Physics tells us that light is both a particle and a wave. And what is a wave if not a vibration? And what is a vibration if not the echo of that first divine word? The vibration that started everything still echoes. But it doesn't just echo through the universe. It echoes through us. Each of us is a tuning fork, resonating with the fabric of existence and influencing it in ways we're only beginning to understand. In quantum mechanics, there's a paradox. A particle isn't a particle until it's observed. Until that moment, it's a probability cloud, a waveform of infinite possibilities. But observation collapses that wave into one reality, and here's the mystery. Not just any observation, but conscious observation. The act of awareness changes what is. Studies have shown that even random number generators, machines built on pure statistical chaos, begin to show patterns when human intention is focused on them. A mind holding pure willingness, the desire for order or change or harmony, seems to nudge the probability. Somehow, the idea in the mind echoes into the field of potential and shapes what emerges into the physical world. Just as a wave collapses into a particle, a thought collapses into a thing. The observer is not separate from the observed. The mind is not separate from matter. This may not be magic. It may be quantum mechanics. It may be sacred geometry. It may be divine intention made manifest. Our thoughts don't just observe, they anticipate. And in that anticipation, in that quiet expectation, something profound happens. Our mental expectation creates a framework, a scaffold for probability to take shape. Like ripples organizing on the surface of a pond, in response to barely perceivable vibration, possibility is not chaos. It is clay, and the shape of our attention is the potter's hand. When we expect joy, order, peace, the quantum field subtly rearranges. Probability bends and outcomes drift closer to the form our minds have already prepared. Not because we force it, but because the waveform responds to coherence. A mind in alignment becomes a tuning fork for reality itself. It's not just observation that collapses the wave. It's the quality of the observer's intent that decides what form the collapse takes. If the mind can influence probability, can it also influence structure? Consider the rice experiment. In this experiment, jars of cooked rice are sealed in glass. To one, the researcher says, "I love you." To another, "You disgust me." Days pass. The loved rice stays white and fragrant. The hated rice turns black with mold. Same rice, same conditions. The only variable, intention. Or consider the water crystal experiments by Dr. Masaru Emoto. Pure water, frozen after being exposed to different words, music, or thoughts. Crystals formed after hearing Mozart or the word gratitude grow into stunning symmetrical snowflakes like divine fingerprints. But water exposed to hatred, anger, or despair produces distorted, chaotic, incomplete forms. While debated in mainstream science, these experiments resonate with deep intuitive truth for many and symbolically point toward the subtle influence of intention. What these experiments suggest is simple and seismic. Emotion and thought leave imprints, even on the molecular level. These weren't just aesthetic changes. They weren't random. Water molecules themselves store something. Like liquid crystals, they capture the frequency, the vibration, the feeling encoded in thought and word. Water, the most abundant substance in and around us, doesn't just reflect intention, it records it. Our bodies are over 70% water. The earth is covered in water. Is it any wonder then that emotion ripples through us? That trauma echoes? That love heals? Water is a living data field, and intention, pure or chaotic, writes directly into it, not metaphorically, structurally. Every thought you've ever had may have left a signature in the water within you, and every word spoken to another may have changed the structure of the water within them. But if water can store data, and if thoughts shape the data, then our minds are already interacting with the substrate of reality. And this leads us back into the quantum realm, where particles exchange information in ways that transcend location, time, and even causality. The structure of form responds to the structure of feeling, but how? How can something as subtle as thought affect something as solid as matter? To answer that, we must look smaller, much, much smaller, down beyond atoms, beyond electrons, into the domain of quanta, particles so small they behave like waves. In this strange world, nothing is local, nothing is truly separate. Entanglement is the key. When two quantum particles become entangled, their states are bound, no matter the distance. Change one, and the other changes instantly. Not as fast as light, but outside of time and space altogether. This phenomenon defies classical physics, but has been observed, measured, and verified. So what happens when consciousness itself is part of the entangled web? What if the mind is not confined to the brain? What if thought, emotion, and awareness ripple outward across a field that transcends location and distance? Just as particles share information across space without a signal, could minds do the same? Could this explain intuition, synchronicity, remote healing? If consciousness is non-local, then we are all entangled. This is the threshold, the veil, where ancient wisdom meets quantum truth, where prayer and physics are two languages describing the same field, a field that responds not just to observation, but to intention, expectation, and the vibration of our inner world. These observations, from frozen water to entangled particles, aren't just metaphors, they're data, and they lend scientific legitimacy to something humanity has known in its bones for thousands of years. Prayer is real, not because it pleases a distant God, but because it's a vibrational act that influences structure and probability. The old saying goes, "Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me." But we now know, words do hurt. They mold the water within us. They shape our cells. They rewire our nervous systems. Words carry frequency. Frequency carries form, and form is the skeleton of reality. A cruel sentence repeated leaves wounds you can't see on a scan, but feel every day. A kind word spoken with presence can repair what medicine cannot. This is not poetic idealism. It's physics. It's chemistry. It's spirituality. It's biology touched by spirit. So let's ground this. What does modern physics actually say about consciousness, observation, and reality? It begins with a paradox. Before a particle is measured, it isn't a particle. It's a wave function, a shimmering cloud of probabilities, all possible outcomes coexisting. But the moment you observe it, the wave collapses. One outcome becomes real. This is the foundation of quantum mechanics. It's called the observer effect. But here's the question. What's doing the observing? Is it a camera? A measuring device? Or is it consciousness itself? Now consider quantum entanglement. Two particles become linked. Their properties mirror one another, even when separated by galaxies. Change one, the other responds instantly. It violates everything we thought we knew about speed, distance, and causality. Einstein called it spooky action at a distance. But it's real. And it hints at something breathtaking, that at the most fundamental level, everything may be connected in a hidden dimension beyond time and space. In 2022, scientists successfully teleported quantum information between distant particles without moving matter. Just information, entangled, transferred instantly. This suggests that information itself is more fundamental than space, time, or energy. And that's where the implications for consciousness begin. Because consciousness, at its core, may not be bound to the brain, but instead may be part of the quantum field itself. The brain would then be not a generator of thought, but a receiver, a bio-quantum interface tuning into a larger non-local field of awareness. Just like a radio doesn't create the music, it receives the broadcast. If this is true, if our minds are tethered to a non-local quantum field capable of influencing probability, structure, and outcome, then perhaps what we call prayer is really just intentional entanglement, a deliberate alignment with the field that forms the fabric of everything. Now, let's peer into the frontier where physics meets mind, the quest to understand how consciousness itself arises. Traditional neuroscience explains brain function in terms of neurons firing, chemical signals, and electrical impulses. But these processes, while necessary, don't fully capture the subjective experience, the awareness, the qualia, the very essence of being. This is known as the hard problem of consciousness. Several scientists have proposed that the answer may lie in quantum processes happening within the brain's microscopic structures. One leading theory is called orchestrated objective reduction, developed by physicist Roger Penrose and anesthesiologist Stuart Hameroff. They suggest that consciousness arises from quantum computations within tiny protein structures called microtubules inside neurons. These microtubules act as quantum processors, capable of maintaining quantum coherence, a delicate state where particles exist in superposition, not yet collapsed into definite states. When this coherence collapses or reduces, it triggers moments of conscious awareness. These moments are not random. They're orchestrated by biological processes, giving rise to the flow of conscious experience. This suggests that consciousness is fundamental, woven into the fabric of reality itself, not just a byproduct of brain chemistry. Another influential model is integrated information theory. IIT proposes that consciousness corresponds to the system's ability to integrate information. The more interconnected and unified the information, the higher the level of consciousness. It provides a mathematical framework to measure consciousness, quantifying how much a system is a unified whole. While not explicitly quantum, IIT aligns with the idea that consciousness is a fundamental property of complex systems, hinting that the brain may tap into deeper universal fields of information. Experiments have found evidence of quantum coherence in biological systems, such as photosynthesis in plants and magnetoreception in birds. These findings support the possibility that the brain's microtubules can maintain quantum states long enough to influence neural activity. This challenges the assumption that quantum effects are too fragile to play a role in warm, wet, noisy brains. If consciousness emerges from quantum processes, it may also be non-local, not confined to a single brain or point in space. This explains phenomena like shared intuition, telepathy, or collective consciousness. Entanglement could allow minds to connect beyond physical boundaries, exchanging information instantly in the quantum field. This would place the mind within a vast interconnected web, a field of awareness stretching across space and time. So when we pray, focus intention, or hold expectation, we may be tuning our quantum receivers to align with specific patterns in this universal field. Our thoughts become entangled with possibility, nudging the waveform of reality towards a particular collapse, a specific outcome. This offers a scientific pathway for how mind influences matter, bridging ancient wisdom and modern physics. Across cultures and centuries, many who have approached death describe a profound phenomenon: a tunnel of light, bright, inviting, and expansive, often accompanied by a sense of peace and connection. Ancient texts, including the Bible, speak of a silver cord, a delicate but unbreakable link between the physical body and the soul. What if this silver cord is not a metaphor, but a literal quantum entanglement, a connection between our physical form and our consciousness residing in a higher dimensional plane beyond ordinary space and time? In quantum physics, entangled particles remain linked no matter how far apart they are. This suggests that our soul, the essence of consciousness, may exist in a non-local dimension, while our body acts as a quantum receiver, tethered via this cord. The tunnel of light could represent the quantum pathway, a dimensional bridge between physical worlds and the higher realms. During the dying process, this entanglement may strengthen, guiding the soul's transition back to its source, beyond space, time, and physical limitation. What emerges is a stunning synthesis. Science and spirituality are not opposites, they are different languages for the same truth, two heads of the same coin. The universe is not a cold machine. It is alive with frequency, sensitive to observation, entangled with mind. Your thoughts are not passive. Your expectations are not idle. Your prayers are not in vain. You are a wave moving through the infinite field. You are a node of consciousness within the great entangled whole. The observer is not only watching. The observer is dreaming, shaping, and becoming. The observer is you.